course, because we're in here, two things. I don't want this leg extracting, and I don't want you to have the ability to move your hip. There's a lot of components here. If I set my weight over your knee, I'm gonna step over, and I sit this way, well, you start to pinch your knees, and and then that way, or if we're here, bring your knees up and see. So part of this is, I prefer to be here if I can drop my hip. But if we're entering in here and this knee is like, I can tell that you may already want to start to put it to work, I just sit on your leg. See, and that's like, it makes it hard for you. And usually from this point, the first thing most people will try to do is bring their body in some capacity, like that. So if we go back half a step, once we get in here, I block the hip, and I'm kind of like just trying to hold you off. But the minute you sit up, boom, there we go. You notice I still keep this hand here, but now I come in and I do my best to close the space between the crook of my elbow and my ribs on this side. So my hand comes in deep, and I think of it like a headlock. I don't want you popping your head out. I need this hand here just for a second, because all we're gonna do here is I'm gonna move back and slowly allow you to track to the top. But now I have my frame. And then this hand pulls through, and I just want to dip my elbow to the mat. And if we have the butterfly hooks, just extension. See, I want to make sure you can't stack me. If for some reason this leg comes out, then I have to go over your back. But the key component to this is not stretching. It's bringing my shoulder and my elbow to the mat and pulling up on the wrist this way. This is kind of the key. And from here, every time we get in here, and I feel like I don't quite have it, I start using the hooks. But every time I do, I dig deeper. So even if you come back down, it's a tighter choke. But I use the hooks just to disrupt your balance. And as I'm doing that, deeper, deeper, deeper. Don't get to a set point and try to finish. And if they're not tapping, you just burn your energy. This is a very important principle. Once I get on your neck, I start disrupting your balance. You have a choice to make. You monitor your base or defend the neck. So how can I get you to come up to me, though? I want to sit right here and kind of frame and just block. In the beginning, it's just this, see? And then I just give you an opening. And this is very common from here, right away, the knee shield. But I have to pull your head in and really get that bite, that clamp. And I block here. The reason why I don't like catching the hands right away, sometimes if you drive hard into me, my knee's gonna get trapped behind you. No, just like get on top. See, but you're already, it's even half guard. I can't finish it. The angle's off. I need to be square to your hips. So I like to track. Sit on my leg. And just, you're actually really efficient at this. And this is a scary position too, no gi, because I don't want you going after my leg. So the more upright you are, it's in my best interest to get close. See, and then we pull this in, but your right hand is on my hip. Hold your hands together for a minute, Ian. Hold your hands. I'm gonna take you over. But see, now I have a little bit of space to survive. Let's go back. Block my hip. Now, as I drive into you, you pop your knee up. Yes, now you lock your hands. And elbow under. If I'm not tapping, start working your hooks. Then you pull me back up. You can even sneak to the top and finish mount. You get that chin strap in there. You don't need both hands if you get the chin strap. But the catch and that, just to monitor. And that also gives you the opportunity to pass. But drawing the head in and the bite, and always whenever you're gonna go after the neck, any sort of head arm choke, like in the beginning, I gotta be square to you. I can't allow you to get the jump. The only other option that you can do if you wanna be proactive is when you sit up, I'll move away from you. Yeah, See, then at least I know that when you get up into my guard. But if we're close, I need to monitor the hip. We do that a lot, no-gi, that hip control.
It seems to stop me from getting around the corner. So it aids you getting in my head. Because I really don't want my head all the way to the front there, but when you control that hip, I can't.
Yeah, and this goes back to the belt thing we talked about. Like you can't go 100%, 100%. You have 100% commitment in terms of how you attack, but if you're focusing on your neck and your hip, you start to split. You know, and that's kind of what we're always trying to create is that frame here, and then from there you can maintain the top position, or if you fall back, you can set the choke. Hip control also allows at any point in time, which is kind of a gauge here. If we get in here, even if I wind up dropping, it's hard for you to get up because I have you at arm's length. And I really like when you drop your hip to maintain the top frame at arm's length. I don't want my elbow bent. My arm is extended based on my hip movement. And then you'll find, no matter what, it's an easy turn to get into quarter guard to set up your knee cut. If you put the butterfly hook in, all we're doing here is I keep extension. As you start to extend that hook, I just move back and then we turn into your knee weave. But that brace is really, really important. Because sometimes you drop your hips, sometimes you feel off balance and you have to drop. So that is a really important component. And the arm being on the hip, there's no attack there. If you just hold me here, your hip, drop your hip, move your hip back so you're at arm's length. You see how right away, even when I do this, you can cut that knee through. Yes, any of that. But if
when you put in that hook,
just drop your hip here, you have this extended, you can have your elbow down. So like your cross face. When I start to drive, move your hip back. And then, yes, see? The only thing I advise no-gi when you do the knee cut, get a frame behind the top leg. Because the knee weave, if they punch the knees through, they can catch they'll go after your leg.
Yep.
That's the only thing. But I do this in the gi too. Like how I approach half guard, once we clear the knee shield. But the stiff arm is essential. I consider this the frame killer. Because an essential half guard, if I can, just based on principle alone, if you drop your hip and I'm able to connect here, you're not going to be able to pass unless you do what you're doing right now. Hip back. See, even though my elbow and knee are connected, your knee goes in that space. It just fills it. So we started with the choke from the top, but that's if anything like the focus of this sort of exchange is more on that, the significance on that, tracking your hips. It's like you said, this whole week, it's just a lot of what we've been covering is just frames, how to effectively frame, because that's your defense. And then with that, you can easily turn it into offense. But that's something I like from you.
very nice.